The late autumn sun poured through the windows, scattering golden streaks across the dining table I had spent 3 exhausting hours perfecting. 24 place settings, polished vintage china I'd hunted down piece by piece. 24 crystal glasses, glinting like tiny beacons. And 24 empty chairs, waiting. The silence was suffocating. Then my phone chimed again, sharp, insistent, almost mocking. I'd been ignoring it for the past hour, but the sound drilled through me like a blade. With trembling hands, I picked it up, the weight suddenly unbearable. The screen exploded with notifications. And there they were, Mom and Dad, smiling like royalty beside Brandon in what was apparently his brand new apartment. Aunt Susan raising her glass of champagne. Uncle Robert grinning with his arms slung around cousin Melissa. Even Grandma, frail but glowing, tucked into the corner of the photo. The caption under my mother's post read, "So proud of our boy." The Taylor family is celebrating Brandon's big milestone, his first home. I swiped again. More photos. More cheers. More champagne. Then a video. Brandon's laughter, loud, unrestrained, echoing in my ears. Like he'd already won something. The phone slipped from my grip, clattering across the table. My palm pressed against my mouth, but it couldn't dam the sob that broke free. My vision blurred as I stared at the untouched feast before me, the Cabernet I'd splurged on for Dad, the homemade rolls cooling in their basket, the carefully plated appetizers waiting to be admired. Just hours ago, I'd been humming in this very kitchen. Too excited to sleep, I'd woken before dawn, checking my handwritten lists one last time. I wanted this day to be flawless. I wanted them to see what I had built with my own 2 hands. Rachel had warned me as she watched me rearrange flowers for the 4th time. "You're overdoing it again, Macy," but she'd smiled kindly, helping me polish Grandma's old silverware. "I want them to be proud," I'd whispered. Tightening the last napkin ring dot at 1:45 p.m., the first crack appeared. A text from Mom, running late. "Start without us." By 3:30, my coworkers Jane and Peter had arrived, followed by Mrs. Eleanor, my 83-year-old neighbor with a homemade pie, and 3 college friends with wine and hugs. Still, no family dot at 4:15. Panic took over. I called my parents 7 times. Straight to voicemail. Brandon didn't answer either. My text to the rest of the family went unread. Finally, Aunt Susan picked up at 4:58. "Oh honey, aren't you coming to Brandon's housewarming?" she asked, her voice drowned out by the sound of laughter and clinking glasses in the background. My chest tightened. "Housewarming?" "He rents an apartment." A pause. Then lightly, "Well, that's not what he told us. Said he bought it last week." "Everyone's here." My throat closed. "I sent invitations a month ago." "My housewarming was today?" "At 2. Another pause. "Longer this time." "Oh dear, well, we're all here now. Maybe you can swing by after your little gathering." I ended the call. Now, I sat at the head of a table meant for 24, surrounded by only 7 people, the ones who hadn't abandoned me. Their eyes darted between the empty chairs and my tear-stained face. Then, with a scrape of her chair, Mrs. Eleanor rose. Her voice carried across the silence, steady and fierce. "Don't let those empty seats steal your joy, dear. This is your day. Macy's day." She raised her glass, and the others followed, their voices uniting in a quiet, defiant toast. Rachel leaned close, her hand squeezing mine. "This is your real family. The ones who chose to show up." My phone lit up again. Mom's name flashing across the screen. 7 pairs of eyes watched me, waiting. I didn't hesitate. I silenced it with one firm tap. Then I raised my glass, my voice steady. "Not today. Today's for those who actually came." 3 hours later, the last guest slipped out into the night. The house was quiet again, except for Rachel, who stayed to help pack leftovers into containers. The food would last me days. A bitter reminder of all the chairs that stayed empty. Rachel sealed another container, sliding it across the counter. You should stay at my place tonight, she said gently. We'll drink wine, mock bad movies, and pass out on the couch like teenagers. I shook my head. My voice was steady, though my chest felt hollow. No, I need to be here. This is my home. The word caught in my throat, fragile and powerful, all at once. The doorbell rang. Its chimes cut through the quiet house like a knife. Rachel and I froze, eyes locking. My hands were damp against the dish towel. I'll get it, I whispered. When I opened the door, there she was. Linda Taylor. My mother, pearl earrings catching the porch light. Perfect hair, perfect posture. Her eyes swept past me into the house, scanning like a critic searching for flaws. May I come in? She asked, but didn't wait for permission. She stepped across the threshold as if she owned the place. My stomach nodded. Her heels clicked across the refinished hardwood floors. She trailed her gaze over the crown molding I'd spent weeks restoring, the vintage chandelier I'd hunted down at 3 different antique shops. It's nice, she said finally, her lips pursed. Smaller than it looked in the photos, the familiar sting hit like acid. Rachel appeared in the doorway between the kitchen and the living room, silent but steady at my side. Why are you here, Mom? I asked. She dropped her purse on my sofa and turned, her expression tightening. Honestly, Macy, I don't understand why you're making such a spectacle out of today. You're always trying to outdo Brandon, always making him feel less. For once, he's doing something right, and you couldn't even show up to support him. The audacity of it knocked the air from my lungs. Rachel gasped softly. Couldn't show up. I snapped back, my voice raw. Because I was here, hosting my own housewarming, the one I invited all of you to weeks ago. Linda waved a dismissive hand. These things happen. We're all busy. Brandon only decided on his party last week, and he was so excited. Last week? The words came out sharp, dangerous. Something shifted deep inside me. My invitations went out 4 weeks ago. She busied herself with a throw pillow on the sofa, refusing to meet my eyes. Brandon's been struggling. When he said he wanted to host a gathering, we thought it would help. Build his confidence. My voice cut through the air like glass. He told you it was an apartment he bought, didn't he? Her fingers froze on the pillow. You knew it was a rental, I pressed, my tone deadly quiet. But you went along with his lie. You let him hijack my day. My celebration. Her silence said everything. You knew. My whisper trembled into a growl. You all knew. And you still staged a fake celebration just to overshadow me. Linda straightened, her defense snapping into place. Don't be so dramatic. Not everything revolves around you, Macy. Brandon needs our support more than you do. You've always been the independent one. Independent. The word set fire in my throat. Independent. My voice rose, sharp and unrelenting. I've been independent because you left me no choice. Her eyes widened. She'd never heard me speak like this before. When I made the honor roll, you skipped my ceremony for Brandon's average football game. When I earned a full scholarship, you spent the night consoling him because he couldn't get one. I worked 3 jobs to put myself through grad school while you paid his rent after he dropped out of community college. I saved for 7 years to buy this house while you funded one failed business. Scheme after another for him. The air between us crackled. My words, years of swallowed pain, came spilling out like a dam had burst. Linda's lips pressed into a thin, brittle line. She didn't deny it, and for the first time in my life, I realized the truth. She would never see me. Not the way I deserved, asterisk. We've always supported both of you equally, Linda snapped. But the lie fell flat in the silence between us. I trembled, rage rising with every word. I spent $62,000 in 9 months renovating this house. Every weekend, every vacation day, every spare hour after work. And you called it a waste, a mistake, a bad neighborhood. You never even bothered to see it. Her face hardened. After all we've done for you, what exactly have you done for me? The question tore from somewhere raw and wounded, sharper than I intended. Name one thing you've done to support my dreams, the way you support Brandon's. Silence. Not hesitation, not thought. Silence. Rachel's presence at the edge of the room anchored me. She stood still, her eyes fixed on us, a witness to decades of rot spilling into the open. This house is mine. My voice steadied. I walked to the front door and pulled it wide open. The cool night air rushed in. Earned, built, paid for by me. Now get out. Linda's mouth fell open in disbelief. This wasn't the script she knew. Usually I apologize for existing too loudly, for being difficult. Macy Elizabeth Taylor, she hissed, voice sharp with authority she no longer owned. You do not speak to your mother that way. I just did. My voice was calm, almost frighteningly so. Now leave, her jaw clenched. She snatched her purse, shoulders stiff with indignation. Your father will hear about this? I'm sure he will. I shut the door behind her and leaned against it, hollow yet somehow fuller than I'd ever felt. Rachel crossed the room quietly, wrapping her arms around me. I'm proud of you, she whispered. Morning sunlight streamed through my kitchen windows. When the doorbell rang again, I hadn't slept, just replayed every second of last night, looping like a wound that wouldn't close. I opened the door to find my father standing there. Charles Taylor. Tall, shoulders bowed by age, expression softer than usual, but no less calculated. May I come in? He asked. His voice was gentler than hers. Almost disarming, wordlessly, I stepped aside. Unlike my mother, he paused in the entryway, his gaze sweeping slowly across the house. Could I see it? He asked. All of it, so I let him through. The kitchen with its resort cabinets. The living room lined with shelves I sanded myself. The office I worked from 2 days a week. The guest room Rachel and I had painted sage green dot in the backyard. He stopped at the raised garden beds I built with my own hands. You did all this yourself? Most of it, I admitted. Friends help with the heavy lifting. He nodded, slow, deliberate. It's beautiful, Macy. You've created something special here. The words landed awkwardly, unfamiliar. Maybe the first true compliment I'd ever heard from him. Then his tone shifted. Brandon told everyone he bought the place. A pause. We knew it wasn't true. The confirmation cut anyway. Even though I already knew the answer, your mother's very upset, he continued. Perhaps if you apologized, we could put this behind us. I met his eyes steady. I won't apologize for telling the truth, or for expecting basic respect. His face hardened, as if the mask slipped for a moment. You know, Macy, we're not getting any younger. Our estate, I don't need your money. My voice sliced through his unfinished sentence. I never did. For a fraction of a second, his composure cracked. Anger, surprise, but under it, the same pattern I'd seen all my life. Control disguised as concern. You gave Brandon 3 loans, I said quietly. The sports shop that collapsed. The food truck he sold in weeks. That ridiculous pyramid scheme. And every time you called it potential, he didn't flinch. He just needs support to find his way, and me. My voice broke like glass. Did I ever have potential worth supporting? His silence said everything. A car pulled into my driveway. Rachel emerged, walking alongside Dr. Elaine Foster, her older friend. Behind them, Mrs. Eleanor parked her dented Buick, carrying a covered dish with both hands. My phone buzzed with messages from coworkers who'd come yesterday, photos, texts, words of encouragement. My father's frown deepened. I should go. Your mother expects you to call and apologize. The family has had enough drama. I walked him back to the door. You can't threaten me with estrangement when that's already my reality. He paused on the threshold, his voice low and final. This isn't how family treats each other, Macy. I met his gaze, unblinking. I know. That's the problem. When the door closed behind him, I leaned against it, my chest rising in a long, slow breath. For the first time, the weight wasn't crushing me. It was fueled up. Dr. Foster leaned forward slightly, her kind eyes sharp with understanding. That's the first step, she said gently, her tone less comfort and more quiet revelation. Recognition. But recognition wasn't relief. For 7 days. The red notification dot on my Instagram had burned into my vision like a wound. Every time I unlocked my phone, it was there, waiting, daring me to look. Now I sat at my desk in the home office I painted sage green with my own hands. The faint scent of lemon oil lingered on the polished wood surface. Outside, the maple tree in my backyard shook its branches, scattering flecks of gold across the October sunlight. My phone buzzed. Another text. Aunt Susan, again. Your mother is very upset. When are you going to apologize? I set the phone down without replying. The weight of silence was heavier than any response I could give. Brandon's Instagram remained frozen in time. His face beamed in photo after photo, champagne flutes raised, congratulatory comments pouring in beneath the lie. The apartment he rented paraded as a purchase. The narrative cemented in their minds, while mine was erased. Enough, I whispered into the empty room. I unlocked my phone, scrolling to the photo Rachel had taken 3 months earlier, me, standing on my own porch, keys in hand, pride etched across my exhausted face. The caption read itself, renovation complete on my first home. From rewiring to restoring century-old floors, done with my own hands. Thank you to those who supported this journey. Hashtag first-time homeowner, hashtag restoration, hashtag craftsman style, double quotes. No mention of betrayal. No tags. Just truth. I hit post as the notification bar lit up. Memory crashed over me. The years of grinding 60-hour work weeks, data engineering by day, freelance coding by night. The studio apartment was sagging furniture I never replaced. The lost bids on 3 different houses before this one, the one everyone else had passed on. Too broken, too much work, but I had seen potential. And I had made it mine. Alone. No parents cheering. No brother lifting a box. Just me, the keys, and a house with more cracks than anyone wanted. A house that, like me, needed care no one else had ever given. The contrast clawed at me. Brandon handed his apartment on a silver platter, first and last month's rent covered, new furniture delivered, movers paid for, my parents' fingerprints on every step of his achievement. My phone pinged again. This time from Katie, my father's niece. One of the few who saw through the lies. Thought you should see this. Screenshots followed. My chest tightened as I scrolled. Aunt Susan. The situation with Macy is getting out of hand. Linda is beside herself. Uncle Robert. Brandon says she's just jealous of his success. Always has been. Cousin Michael. We all know Macy's always been difficult. Remember that tantrum at Thanksgiving? The tantrum they meant was the night I tried to share my MIT acceptance letter. They'd spent the entire dinner dissecting Brandon's C+ in math. The chat went on, each message dripping with dismissal. Macy the troublemaker. Macy the sensitive one. Macy who never fit. The weight pressed down like concrete setting around my ribs. Later that day, Dr. Foster's office smelled of sandalwood and old books. The leather chair creaked beneath me as I shifted, the words spilling like confession. They think I'm jealous, I said flatly. They rewrite history until I don't recognize myself anymore. Dr. Foster folded her hands. Her voice was gentle, but unflinching. The golden child and the scapegoat. Classic family dynamic. Your brother is idealized. You've been cast as the problem, no matter what you achieve. It's not about truth, Macy. It's about the roles they need you to play. Her words sliced cleanly, not because they were new, but because they maimed what I had been drowning in for years. For the first time, the pattern was visible. And once visible, it couldn't be unseen. Brandon. The golden child. The one draped in endless excuses. Me, the scapegoat. The one who could never measure up. I'd known this truth for years, but seeing it typed out in that family group chat was like staring into an alternate reality they'd all agreed to. Believe. Dr. Foster leaned forward, eyes steady. What would your life look like, she asked softly, if you stopped chasing their approval? The words hit like a strike to the chest. For a long moment, I couldn't breathe. I'd be alone, I whispered. Cut off completely. Her gaze flicked toward the window, toward the sun spilling through the glass. Are you sure? She asked. From what you've told me, you have Rachel, your colleagues, Mrs. Eleanor, people who see you clearly. People who choose you. I shook my head. But they're not family. She tilted her head, voice calm but piercing. And what makes someone family, Macy? The question trailed me home, a shadow clinging to every turn of the wheel. When I pulled into the driveway, Rachel's car was parked out front. 3 more I recognized from work. Through their windows, I spotted paint cans and rollers. Surprise. Rachel shouted from the porch, grinning wide. My coworkers clustered behind her. Painting party for your guest bathroom. We brought pizza and wine. Inside, Mrs. Eleanor was already arranging flowers on my table. Clippings from my garden, she explained warmly. And after dinner, I'll show you how to prune those rose bushes. My grandmother taught me, and I think you should know too. For 2 weekends, my house transformed. Paint fumes, sawdust, and laughter mingled in the air. Jane and Peter became regulars at my table. Mrs. Eleanor passed on her secret for growing the sweetest tomatoes in spring. The hollow rooms that had once echoed with loneliness now hummed with something I hadn't felt in years. Belonging. Then came the knock. It was a Wednesday evening. The smell of garlic and rosemary still rising from my skillet. Through the frosted glass, his silhouette was unmistakable. Brandon. One hand shoved casually in his pocket, shoulders cocked with that practiced confidence. When I opened the door, his smile was a performance polished by years of indulgence. Hey sis, he said, leaning against the frame like we were on some TV sitcom. Place looks good. I didn't move. What do you want, Brandon? He cleared his throat, smile faltering just slightly. Look, things got a little out of hand with the apartment situation. Mom and Dad might have overreacted. Not an apology. Never an apology. I stepped aside. He entered like he owned the place, scanning every corner with calculating eyes. Within minutes, his real reason surfaced. There's this investment opportunity, downtown development, huge potential. Just a small buy-in. Thought of you since, you're into property now. How much? My tone was flat, curious more than hopeful. 15,000 to start, he said smoothly. I pay you back once it takes off. The words were stale. I'd heard them before. Business loans that vanished, rent temporary, until my parents funded it for 2 years. Brandon always needed. Brandon always took. And everyone else made sure I was the problem. I looked at him, then really looked. The charm that never reached his eyes. The entitlement carved so deeply into his face. He couldn't imagine a world where I'd say no. You've never seen me clearly, I said, my voice low but sharp as glass. But I finally see you. His expression hardened. What the hell is that supposed to mean? It means no, I said. No, Brandon. I won't fund your project. Not now. Not ever. For the first time, his mask cracked. He left with a stiffness that betrayed his shock. And for the first time, I didn't feel small. The next morning, I called my mother. My voice didn't shake. I'll come to Sunday dinner, I said. But first, I booked another session with Dr. Foster. They'll try to pull you back into old roles, she warned. You don't have to play along. Rachel will be nearby, I told her. If things go bad, good, she nodded. Now what boundaries are you setting before you go? I raised my hand and counted them out, finger by finger. 1, I leave if they belittle my house or my choices. 2, I won't discuss Brandon's money schemes. 3, I refuse to sit in silence if they rewrite history. For the first time in my life, I was walking into their home not as their scapegoat, but as something else entirely. Asterisk, the sound of the phone against the counter felt loud in the warm kitchen. Rachel glanced up from the chopping board, eyebrow quirked. Your face just did that thing, she said. I held the screen toward her. Brandon's post glowed, him grinning beside a blonde I didn't recognize. Her left hand flashed like a dare, an enormous diamond that swallowed the photograph. The caption read something effortless and rehearsed. She said yes. Finally found the one. Didn't they start dating last month? Rachel asked. 5 weeks, I replied, scrolling through the parade of likes and syrupy comments. Out-of-town relatives I hadn't heard from in months had already chimed in. My parents were right at the top. Cheeriest of the lot. My phone buzzed. Mom. I let it ring once and then answered. Her voice was that unnatural, perfect alto she used for family announcements. Macy, have you seen Brandon's wonderful news? We're thrilled. Jennifer is absolutely perfect for him. We're planning an engagement party in 3 weeks. The whole family will be there. Silence pulled in me for a beat, thin, dangerous. The kitchen smelled like garlic and rosemary and the faint lemon oil from yesterday's polishing. Outside, the maple leaves tapped against the window like a metronome. Congratulations, I said. My thumbs pressed hard against the rim of the counter until my nails hurt. I'm glad he's happy. My voice didn't rise. It didn't fall. It was a flat, clean thing, deliberate. Oh, you must come, Macy. Her cheer brightened as if she were arranging a scene. We want everyone together. It'll be lovely. I pictured the table. White linens, tight smiles. The same choreography of praise for him and erasure for me. I pictured myself sliding into an invisible role, nodding while they rewrote my life into their tidy narrative. I won't be attending, I said. There was a tiny, stunned silence on the line. Macy, she started, the practice patience thinning. It's a family celebration, a celebration for people who lie, I said. The words fell softer than I expected, but landed heavier. Not mine. She expects you to apologize, she replied, already rolling the script. To put this behind us. I don't apologize for being visible, I said. Or for wanting people to tell the truth. Then quieter, I'll celebrate my life my way. When you hold an event, don't expect me to be there to applaud a fiction. The line went quiet. She tried one last tug. Think of the family. Then the call ended with a brittle promise to discuss it later. I set the phone face down and breathed out slow. Rachel crossed the kitchen and slid an arm around my waist. You handled that like a queen, she said softly, but her eyes searched mine for the tremor. I didn't know I'd be allowed to show outside. Mrs. Eleanor's laugh rang as she walked up the path, carrying another covered dish. In the garden, the roses climbed their trellis with patient insistence, the very picture of steady growth. That evening, I opened a notebook and made a list small. Careful things, boundaries, plans, allies. I wrote down the rules I would hold to at every family event. No money, no therapy palace apologies, no shrinking to fit their story. I scribbled dates Brandon's engagement party circled in red, then crossed out. Beside it, I wrote another date. Housewarming, your rules, your terms. Under that, a single clean line, tell the truth. Publicly, if I must. I wasn't sure yet what form the truth would take. A quiet refusal, a post that wouldn't let their version stand, a confrontational question at the next gathering. The idea hovered, bright and terrible, like a match struck in a dark room. For now, I would do the small thing, refuse to be complicit. I would keep the people who chose me close. I would tend the garden, let the roses thicken their stems. And when the time came, I would decide calmly, precisely how to pull the thread that had bound their story together for so long. Dark things can begin with small, bright decisions. Tonight, mine was simply, I will not be erased. Asterisk, the cardboard box sat between us like a quiet witness. My fingers lingered over the photo of myself at 16, leaning against that rusted hatchback I'd saved for with babysitting money, tutoring gigs, and endless late nights at the diner. My father's camera had caught me mid-laugh, joy blazing across my face. A joy I barely remembered now. We failed you, he said again, softer this time. His voice was stripped of its usual authority, carrying instead the raw weight of admission. I failed you. For years, I dreamed of hearing those words. I thought they'd taste like justice. But sitting here now, they only ached like pressing on an old wound you're not sure has ever truly healed. He cleared his throat. Brandon told everyone he bought Jennifer's ring outright. He didn't. He charged it to her card, promised he'd pay it off. My father's eyes dropped to his hands. Weathered but still strong, the same hands that had built furniture in the garage, that had signed checks for Brandon's endless rescues. It's the same pattern, Macy. I see it now. I leaned back, arms folded, letting the silence stretch. He shifted, uncomfortable with my refusal to fill the space for him. You always had potential, he blurted suddenly, his voice rising as if trying to rewrite history with volume. I saw it in you. Your mother, she didn't always... He trailed off, shaking his head. But No, I interrupted, my voice calm, cutting clean through his fumbling. You didn't see me, Dad. Not really. If you had, you wouldn't have stood by while they erased me over and over. You wouldn't have let Brandon's failures cost more than my victories were ever worth to you. He winced, as if each word hit bone. For once, he didn't argue. He just sat there, staring at the photographs like they belonged to another lifetime. Jennifer asked to meet me, I said finally. His head lifted, startled. She wants to know what she's marrying into. His mouth opened, then closed again. Perhaps he wanted to defend Brandon, to soften the truth. But the fight had bled out of him. All he managed was a weary nod. You'll tell her? He asked. I looked at the photo of myself at 12, sawdust on my shirt, Grandpa's workshop glowing warmly behind me. I'll tell her the truth, I said, placing the picture carefully back in the box. What she does with it is her choice, but she won't walk in blind the way I had to. For the first time in years, my father didn't argue. He just whispered, I'm sorry, like a man praying to a god he wasn't sure believed him anymore. The box of photos sat heavy between us. Proof of a girl who'd always been there, waiting to be seen, asterisk. The chandelier light at the Westbrook Country Club glitters like frost as Rachel and I step into the reception hall. Every gaze tilts toward me, forks poised in midair, glasses hovering just shy of lips. The chatter drops to a murmur, then to silence. You look stunning, Rachel whispers, giving my hand a firm squeeze. Simple elegance always wins. I nod once, grounding myself. My forest green dress flows like calm armor, uncomplicated, deliberate. No diamonds, no pretense. Just me. Aunt Susan leans into Uncle Robert, whispering behind her palm. Their darting glances feel like arrows grazing skin. Across the room, Brandon stiffens by the gift table, his smile cracking as though he'd rehearsed my absence. Jennifer's wave cuts through the tension, small but real, relief softening her face, and then my parents move in. My mother's smile is wide enough for cameras, but her eyes are sharp, assessing. My father hovers at her shoulder, shifting uncomfortably. His tell before every storm. "You came," my mother says, her voice pitched for the audience. "How thoughtful." I return her gaze evenly. "Wouldn't miss it," I reply, light but steady, the words carrying more weight than the room realizes. Her smile tightens, and I can already see the calculation flickering behind her eyes, how to spin my presence, how to fold me back into their script. But I've brought my own story tonight. Asterisk, the air inside the Westbrook Country Club is heavy, thick with forced laughter and meaningless chatter. 20 minutes crawl by as cousins drone on about the weather, their eyes flickering with curiosity they don't dare voice. I retreat to the refreshment table, the fizz of sparkling water sharp against my tongue. Then her perfume arrives before she does. My mother materializes at my side, smile painted perfectly for the crowd. Her words, however, cut like glass. "Listen carefully," she murmurs, her lips never faltering. "Do not mention your house tonight. This is Brandon's night, not your stage." The script is familiar. Linda commands. Macy obeys. My chest tightens, but I steady myself. Dad lingers just behind, caught between stepping in and clinging to the fragile illusion of family unity. "Mom," I say evenly, "not everything has to orbit around you." Her jaw tightens. She adjusts canapes with unnecessary precision. "Just once, Macy. Let your brother shine." Can you manage that without turning it into competition? Before I can respond, a soft voice interrupts. "There you are." "Macy," Jennifer says, gliding toward us in a cream cocktail dress that catches the light. Her eyes dart between us, sharp enough to cut through the tension. Mother's smile hardens into porcelain. "We were just discussing family matters, dear." I inhale, Dr. Foster's words echoing. "Your response belongs to you, not to them." Turning to Jennifer, I let a real smile surface. "I'm here to celebrate you, Jennifer. Nothing else matters tonight." The truth lands like a stone in still water. Mother's fingers tighten around her glass, fury disguised as composure. Jennifer slips her arm through mine, her warmth pulling me free. "Thank you," she whispers, her voice trembling with sincerity. "It means more than you know." The evening unfolds like a dance of masks and shadows. Laughter feels rehearsed, smiles stretched thin. And then Brandon rises, champagne flute raised high. "Jennifer and I are so grateful to see everyone here tonight," he begins, his charm slick as oil. "This year has been full of milestones, my new home purchase, this engagement." Jennifer's smile falters. Her eyes lock on mine across the table, the truth bleeding through her facade. Around us, relatives shift uncomfortably. Aunt Susan suddenly finds her salad fascinating. The lie doesn't need me to expose it. It collapses on its own. After the toast, Jennifer drags Brandon aside. Their whispers sharpen into daggers. His gestures grow wild, desperation cracking his mask. Nearby, Mom busies herself with the centerpiece, her knuckles white. Dad checks his watch, as though time might erase what's unfolding. I slip outside. The terrace air is cool, merciful. There you are. Jennifer joins me, eyes red but clear. "Are you okay?" I ask softly, her voice trembles. I had no idea. The apartment. The promotion. The savings that don't exist. Your parents knew, didn't they? I meet her gaze steady. They've always known. Her breath catches. How do you survive this family? I tilt my head toward the stars. By choosing truth. Even when it cuts, the door slams open. Brandon storms toward us, fury painting his face. What are you doing? He spits. You're poisoning her against me. Jennifer straightens, fire in her eyes. She's been nothing but honest with me, Brandon. Honest? His laugh is bitter, ugly. She's jealous. She always has been. Ask anyone here. I already did, Jennifer replies, voice steady as steel. Your cousin Mark knew nothing about that apartment. Seems you forgot to script him. Brandon's mask shatters. So what if I rent? Everyone exaggerates. That's life. No, I say quietly, my words cutting deeper than a shout. This isn't exaggeration. It's a pattern. And tonight, everyone sees it. 3 relatives hover nearby, silent witnesses to his unraveling. I clutch my purse, exhaustion settling over me. I should go. Mother appears in the doorway, her voice a hiss. Macy, don't you dare make a scene. Then Dad speaks, his tone stripped of pretense. Let her go, Linda. We've done enough. The words hang heavy, undeniable. For once, he doesn't shield her. I walk past them, my steps measured, head held high. Relatives part like waves, their eyes shifting from confusion to dawning recognition. Outside, the night air fills my lungs, clean, uncomplicated, free. Asterisk Rachel waits by the car, her hand resting lightly on the roof as if steadying both of us. A question lingers in her eyes. Ready? She asks. I glance back at the country club. Its windows glow with warm light, but inside, the facade has already cracked. The lies no longer belong to me. Whether they mend their illusion or let it crumble, my peace doesn't hang in that balance anymore. Yes, I say, voice steady. I'm ready. Golden light spills through new curtains, painting shifting patterns across my oak dining table. A year has passed since that night, since the last time I walked away from them. Today, 8 place settings wait, each adorned with vintage blue vases holding roses from my own garden. 8 chairs, not for obligation, not for pretense, but for people who choose to show up. My fingers skim the table's edge, remembering how hollow it felt when these chairs sat empty. That ache has softened, dulled by time, therapy, and the courage to let go. Dr. Foster calls it progress. The scent of rosemary and slow-cooked beef fills the air. Rachel appears in the doorway, bottle of wine in hand, a grin tugging at her lips. Something smells incredible. Eleanor's recipe, I answer, adjusting a napkin with care. She always said her pot roast could fix a broken heart. Rachel chuckles, moving to light the candles. The walls hum with new life photos of laughter and late nights. Shelves installed by friends. Brushstrokes of paint layered over old ghosts. Eleanor's absence is felt but honored. Her hydrangeas bloom outside, reminders of her steady hands and wiser words. You should see the garden, I tell Rachel, pulling her toward the back door. The yard, once barren, has become a riot of color. Roses climb, lilacs breathe, and the soil carries the patience of lessons learned. Eleanor used to say, gardens are teachers. Some plants take root, others wither, and some bloom only after seasons of care. She was right. Yesterday, Dr. Foster asked what I've learned in a year. To build fences, I told her. Not just the white one outside, but the kind that protect what matters. At work, I mentor Alexis, a young engineer whose mother questions every step she takes. Last week she texted, I told Mom no for the first time. My first real boundary. Thank you. The doorbell rings. Rachel squeezes my shoulder, her silent promise of support. It's my father. Charles stands uncertain on the porch, a potted lilac bush cradled in his arms. I thought your garden might have room for this, he says, voice rough with something unspoken. Your grandmother had one at our first house. I smile, genuine, unforced. It's perfect. Inside, he studies the home with quiet awe. He hasn't earned forgiveness, not yet, but honesty has started to replace silence. Mom still refuses to step foot inside these walls, clinging to her mythology where Brandon deserves endless rescues, and I remain the villain. Brandon himself blames Jennifer for leaving after the truth surfaced. Last I heard, he's back in his old room, spinning stories about opportunities just around the corner. The bell rings again. More chairs fill. More laughter swells. Eleanor's absence is honored with an empty chair at the table, draped with her scarf. Jane raises her glass. To the house that truth built. Later, twilight settles soft across the porch. My father joins me, hands folded like a man unsure of his place. "You've built something beautiful here," he says quietly. "In this house. In your life." His words carry regret, admiration, and the tentative possibility of something real. Not repair, not yet, but growth. Inside, voices overlap, friends teasing, glasses clinking, someone strumming a guitar. My house glows with warmth that spills onto the street, a beacon so different from the hollow space it once was. I welcome another wave of guests, my smile easy, unforced. The truth clicks into place inside my chest. Family isn't who demands your loyalty. Family is who chooses to stay. And as night folds itself gently over my home, I realize this. Sometimes you set a table for 24, but only 8 arrive. And that is enough.